Hi, welcome to our first PAWPAC video interviews. I'm excited to introduce Kelly Krout. But first, let me tell you a little bit about PAWPAC. I'm Murray Newbern. I'm one of the founding members of Progressive Arkansas Women, and we are a nonpartisan PAC that raises money to support progressive women candidates running for office. We're launching this video series to hopefully encourage other Arkansas women to run for office. So Kelly Krout is our first interviewee, and she ran for office twice, once for state rep in District 90 and then for lieutenant governor. Kelly's a lifelong Arkansan who lives in Lowell, Arkansas with her husband and 7 sons. She's a social worker, children's author, and public policy advocate. We're so excited to have Kelly as our first PAWPAC interview, encouraging women to run for office. So Kelly, I wanted to ask you first, why was it important for you to step up and run for office, especially facing the daunting odds in a statewide race?
Right. Well, I mean, it goes back to the first race for state rep. People deserve to have options, right? Our country is based on democratic values, and without democracy, we don't really have what we think we have. And in order to have democracy, we've got to have options. And there wasn't going to be an option on my ballot for state rep. And so I looked around and I waited for someone else to step up, and no one was willing. And so I thought, you know what, I'll do it myself. And so I jumped in there and learned so much. I enjoyed campaigning. I loved connecting with voters. I loved educating about the issues, and I had a great time. And I felt like we started making some progress. It was unfortunately not a win. And I learned a lot more about the numbers and the statistics in the meantime. And when the next season rolled around, I understood what my odds were a little better than I did the first time. And so I thought, where can I make the biggest impact, regardless of how the race turns out? Which is why I opted for a statewide race, because I wanted to be able to encourage other people to run. I wanted to show them that we could do things in a fun and different way and reach even more people that way. And we really did.
Yeah, that's great. We're so glad you did. So why do you think it was particularly important for women? Because that's our mission, is to support women.
Right. Which we appreciate.
Yeah. Why do you think that's really important?
It's huge. Obviously, women are drastically underrepresented in state legislatures across the entire country. Naturally, Arkansas lags behind even the national average there. And we've got a lot to bring to the table, right? And studies show that women are only going to really put in for a job when they are sure they meet all the requirements, whereas men are going to jump in if they just feel like it most of the time. And so we can be pretty sure that if we've got women candidates, these gals are qualified and they are ready to rock and roll. And I love spending time trying to recruit people and letting them know, listen, you are qualified. The qualifications to run for state rep or any local office, it's usually how old you are and where you live. And all of us have those. So you're probably qualified. And we've got a unique perspective to bring to the table. I personally have been the main caretaker of my family for a really long time. And I love talking about parenting skills that translate directly into government work. Logistics, management, conflict resolution, team building skills, budgeting. I mean, you name it, all of those are transferable skills, and those are values that you can bring to the table.
Absolutely. You said it. Also, I wanted to ask you were a social media phenom when you ran for office. I read this article in the Washington Post a few weeks ago that I found hopeful in these sort of dark, divided days that we are living in. And basically it said that about 4 million Americans turn 18 every year and gain the right to vote. In the 8 years between 2016 and 2024, that's 32 million new eligible voters. Also, every year, 2.5 million older Americans die. Now that sounds kind of grim, but so in the same 8 years, that's as many as 20 million fewer older voters. Mm-hmm. So unlike previous generations, this article said, the Gen Zers vote like never before, and they're issues driven. So you had such a great platform and the way you delivered your message. And I was just wondering, how would you advise a woman running for office to engage with these young potential voters that are going to be here in the next election cycle?
Right. They are the real change makers, and they are motivated and they are ready. I had so many 16 and 17-year-olds just sick this time that they couldn't vote, but they will be able to vote by this next time. And using social media was such a unique way to meet them where they are, because a lot of them are using it. And I think the reason that my social media stuff was successful is because you can use social media in a way that is relatable, that is authentic, and so people felt like they knew me as a person, and they did. Like, that was the real me that I put out there, and so it built kind of relationship in that, and then they were willing to follow through and go to the polls. And so we absolutely don't need to underestimate the young voters. They're ready to turn out. I think it's a cool way. It's not for everybody, but it's certainly a tool that not a lot of people have utilized, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Right. No, I know. I mean, you were, as I said, a phenomenon. Did you have better numbers in your lieutenant governor's race than other Democrats running for statewide office? Because I feel like your campaign track higher because
yeah, it's hard to compare the two. We didn't make the progress that we had hoped we would make in the statewide race. We made a bigger chunk in the state rep race, and it is easier to make progress locally. And I always felt kind of like I was saying one thing and doing one thing and preaching another, because I want people to start local. We can really make a difference at the school board, city council, but I wanted a big platform to be able to spread that message. So I went for one of the higher offices in order to be able to do that. The numbers weren't what we wanted. Voter turnout was crummy. It was a midterm, all these kind of things. What is really cool is that Arkansas is one of only 4 states where the youth voter turnout went up. And absolutely going to credit a little bit of TikTok with that, because we got youth engaged for sure.
Right.
And so in those other 3 states that had increased voter turnout in the youth, age range, they were all in Democratic states. And so for us to have that kind of turn, I just thought that was a really cool, little tidbit on the other side.
Right. I think that's definitely going to be very meaningful, and especially in a state like Arkansas, which I've heard you point out before, that just barely over half of the eligible registered voters actually vote.
Right.
So
I think it's really eye-opening to think about, like, our current governor got 63% of the vote, but when you look at the total number of registered voters, it was only 32% of the vote. So we got to get out there and vote. That is not the majority.
Right. There's opportunity. There's definitely opportunity. Well, I know you're super busy and you've got things to do, but I sure we appreciate, PAWPAC appreciates your willingness to talk to us, and we've loved knowing you in the past, and we hope we'll see you again running for office. And we certainly consider you a role model for other women stepping up. So thanks so much.
It. And on behalf of women candidates, PAWPAC, thank you so much. I mean, we couldn't do it without you. It's a hard place to run, and you make it doable and more fun. And you're just a great group of gals to hang around. So I enjoy just getting to be a part. So don't be a stranger.
Oh, good. Well, great. Well, thank you. Thank you again, and get on with your busy life.
All right. Off to open house. Thank you.